I think, as you can see, we don't have a rousing turnout for Come to the Table tonight, unfortunately. And I specifically said to Father Dan, I want you to go to Leechburg tonight because I want to be here for Mass and come to the table and see the whole thing. Guess what? I think we're going to have to cancel the program this evening. Weather's not good, attendance is down. However, do you ever hear of the 5 loaves and the 2 fishes? We have made enough food for every one of you. There's plenty of food that was scheduled for tonight. I'd like to, this is the best deal you're ever going to get. Anybody who would like to come down and eat afterwards, there's plenty of food upstairs and downstairs. Come and join us because we have a lot of extra food. It would be a sin to go to waste. Usually what we do not consume is that goes to Meals on Wheels, but I'd like to share it as fresh as much as we can. So if you have a little bit of time on your way out, call it Mass and Dinner, okay? And we'll reschedule ourselves and regroup with the content, which was faith this evening. We'll incorporate that in to come to the table later on. John the Baptist. Well, we heard about him last week. He was preaching hellfire and damnation. I haven't heard it lately, but a lot of people say, get up there and preach hellfire and damnation and make everybody nervous. You want that? It's not my style. I don't believe in it. I think fear works for about 10 minutes. Then we go back to our normal whatever. Fear. Plus, that's not the point of religion, fear and trembling. John the Baptist, though, was preaching more, as we heard last week, more of a violent message that the kingdom is coming, and it's going to be. He used the language of destruction, which is there's something to be said for if we don't follow the will of God, things fall apart. Now this week, Jesus enters the scene, and John has a different tone. And by the way, he's in prison. Are you the one? Because how Jesus has been acting, it's not what even John expected. Jesus was not doing hellfire and damnation. He was doing peaceable and positive things that were healing and bringing people together. Just the opposite. So here's the precursor of Christ pointing to the Messiah, but he himself didn't know what the Messiah, who he was going to be, and how he was going to fulfill his mission. So Jesus sends the message back to the disciples. What do you see going on? And the quote is taken from what we heard in the first reading tonight. It's the fulfillment of the prophecy. When the Messiah comes, the blind will see, the lame will leap up, and all of the other things. Lepers will be freed up and reconciled, and the dead will be raised, and the poor will have the good news preached to them. Well, what's going on is the fulfillment of what the prophet said way, way, way before. Jesus is fulfilling what was in the scriptures by this. And the gospel writer includes that in the story tonight. Now, that's a little bit of the behind the scenes. But just like John had to learn who the Messiah was, and it was going to be different than what he expected. I was thinking about John the Baptist as a symbol. And by that I mean, we have experiences, in my judgment, that are somewhat like John the Baptist's role. John's role was to get the people's attention so that they would be ready for the one who was to come. Meaning they mustn't have been attentive. Now think about us today. What gets your attention? We're driving around and we're running around. We are distracted by 1,000 things. How does God get our attention in our daily lives? We had another funeral here this morning. and I lived to tell about it. You can't get out on Leechburg Road. They won't stop. Now, is that because people are malicious? In my worst moments, I truly believe that. Or is it that they're so wrapped up either on their phone or what else is going on that they don't even see the funeral procession trying to get out on Leechburg Road? What is it? Part of it is lack of attentiveness. How many people are driving without talking on the phone? Or doing something else? How many times are we multitasking? That used to be a very good, that used to be a compliment. I don't know that it is anymore. We're doing so many things, our mind is on nothing. When you are on overload, and I think tis the season, who gets your attention? How do we get our attention about not just all the stuff going on, but to go deeper into life? Those I would call John the Baptist experiences that kind of either shake us up or get our attention. Think about your own life. Think about driving and all of a sudden seeing a police car. What do? Come on, I'm not the only one. What do you do when you see a police car? You slow down. Why? Because you need to slow down. Even if you're going slow enough, you get guilty. Is he going to get me or not? Oh, thank God he got the guy behind me. And that's their purpose. And there's nothing like flashing lights to get your attention. And it is a wake-up call, is it not? I'm jolted into saying, what do I have to do now? I got to slow down, not only to avoid a ticket, but I'm not following the speed limit. You go to the doctor. You're not feeling well. Then you wait for the report. And then you get the report. The waiting is one thing, and then the report is another. What happens when it's a good report? Hello? Whew. Thank God. What happens when it's not the right report? Now what? And what happens to us? Our whole life passes in front of us, I would dare say. A John the Baptist experience that gets our attention. I got a phone call a couple years ago on a Tuesday night, late, from the bishop's office. And it was his secretary saying, come to the bishop's office on Friday at 1 o'clock. Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. And that was the message. Well, and of course, say nothing about this. Well, what do you think this was? Oh my God, it's the fickle finger of fate is coming to transport me from here over to here. What's the first thing you think when the bishop calls? Oh, he wants to say hello. So we all went. That was the day when we all walked in, and he said, well, gentlemen, there were several of us. It's Friday the 13th, a day for bad news, but I have good news for you. You're all Monsignors. I said, oh, for God, I've been sweating for 3 days. That's the way that occurred. But it's the anxiety. That phone call ruined my week. Because you never know what's going on here. And everything's a secret until it's, whatever. But I think these kind of moments, the point is, for God needs to get our attention. Meaning, we should not assume that we are attentive to where God is in life. We need to look more deeply at what's going on around us And that's what faith, which was our topic for Come to the Table tonight. It is seeing deeper what is in front of us and inside of us. From the gospel, the blind see, the lame jump up, lepers are healed, the poor have the good news preached to them, and the dead are raised. Those are not miracles that make headlines every day. Those are seen in the footnotes of our daily life. Being lame could also be interpreted as being stuck. I'm wrapped up, I'm locked up. Did you ever feel stuck? I don't know how to move. I don't know what to do next. I feel like I'm just in a control pattern, going nowhere. When something happens and we break out of the stuckness, is that the hand of God working in our daily life? That would be the lame. The blind seeing. All these why questions that we have. Why this? Why that? Why does God do this? Why doesn't he do that? We need enlightenment and we need insight. It's about learning. When we learn and understand something more fully, isn't that an uplifting experience? Oh, I finally got it. I never had that experience in chemistry. But think about in our studies. Studying and breaking I don't get it. And at some moment, the aha moment. Lepers. Lepers are those who are excluded from the group. It is the worst experience in life to be shunned and to be made to feel that we do not belong, we are not worthy of the group, and the group decides to put us out. Deadly and toxic. And when we have this experience of somehow being brought back in, I've told you that experience when I go to a wedding reception or go to some social event by myself, and I'm desperate to see a familiar face. And finally I see somebody, said, oh my God, I know somebody else in the room. Everybody else is ignoring me. That's what happens very often in our social life. And it also happens in church, but not here. I'm watching it in Leechburg. We talk to the people we talk to. We huddle with the people we know. The rest may as well be lepers. Got to watch out for this, in church as well as in daily life. And the new life that comes out of the crosses and sufferings of our life. How many times do we look back and say, I couldn't be where I am now if I hadn't gone through this. I wasn't saying that at the time, but the providence of God somehow worked later on. All of these signs and experiences are foretastes of the ultimate coming of God at the end. We need to wake up and identify them and name them and claim them each day. And that is part of our faith in action. John the Baptist and John, those experiences are given to us to wake us up, to make us more alert, and to be more reflective and less drones running around spazzed out all the time. As younger and older, as we come to the Eucharistic table tonight and as we pray, let us put our minds and hearts into it because the Lord is here and gets our attention in word and in sacrament to give us light, to give us new energy, to give us hope, to reintegrate us as part of his family, and to give us new life so that we can go and do the same.